I was out in my pasture, boots caked in mud, gripping a shovel, when I spotted a woman in a bright coral blazer marching across my land like she just bought it at auction. Trailing her were two guys in polos, one lugging a measuring tape already trampling my irrigation lines. "You're trespassing," I said, voice steady, pointing to a weathered sign nailed to a fence post. "Private property since 1946. She glared at me, her eyes sharp with the smugness of someone ready to unload a memorized script. "Actually," she snapped, "you're violating Municipal Code Section 9. We're reclaiming this land for the Greenview Estates Enhancement Project." I raised a hand, pointed at her, and said the words that sparked the fight of my life. "Ma'am, this is a cattle ranch, and you just stepped in fresh dung." She didn't blink, just strode closer, yanked a document from her purse, and slapped it against my chest like it was a court summons. I glanced down. Eviction notice 3 days. My brain couldn't process it. I'd lived here my whole life. My parents tied the knot under the oak by the south fence. My granddad built the house with his own hands. How could a neighborhood board of wine-sipping lawn fanatics claim it was theirs? But there it was in slick legalese, an obscure zoning clause tied to a suburb expansion, saying, "My ranch fell within Greenview's HOA boundaries." Laura Hensley, president of the Greenview HOA, was spearheading this with the subtlety of a runaway bulldozer. I took the papers and trudged to my porch, where my dog Rusty growled as she passed. She flinched, muttered about unleashed beasts, and kept going. The notice gave me 72 hours to comply or face $500 daily fines for unauthorized fencing, non-compliant landscaping, and unapproved agricultural storage, meaning the barn my granddad built before HOAs were even a thing. I sat there, notice in one hand, beer in the other, staring at my cows grazing, while a woman who'd probably never touched a pitchfork tried to erase my history. Next morning they were back. Branded trucks with Greenview logos rolled in, and a crew started staking markers like they were building a cul-de-sac. A kid with a clipboard waltzed into my corn rows planting orange flags. I stormed out, waving my land deed. "What the hell are you doing?" I demanded. "Surveying," he said, deadpan. "For what?" I pressed. "Perimeter enhancement," he replied. No irony, I laughed. What else do you do when someone threatens to redecorate you off your own land? Then came the real gut punch. Around noon, a worker tried installing a decorative trellis on the wrong side of the pasture, right where my electric fence runs to keep the hears in. I yelled, but too late. His drill hit the wire, and a crackling pop lit up the day. He yelled, flung the drill like it was cursed, and stumbled back. No real harm, just a solid jolt. But Laura seized the moment. She charged over, voice shrill enough to scatter crows. "That was intentional," she shrieked. "You assaulted my crew." I bit back a grin. "Ma'am, that's an electric fence. There are signs. You passed 3. She didn't care, whipping out her phone, threatening to call the sheriff, the city planner, and her sister-in-law in real estate law. She accused me of obstructing community progress and hinted at criminal charges. I knew I needed reinforcements, so I made one call. 30 minutes later, dust kicked up on the gravel road. A black Chevy truck with government plates pulled up. Out stepped my brother Ethan, fresh from 2 weeks on base, still in his military police uniform, badge gleaming. Laura's face flickered from fury to confusion as he strode over. "Problem here?" he asked, voice low, making everyone freeze. Laura cleared her throat. "This is a private civil matter." "You can't." Ethan flashed his ID. "Ma'am, I'm a federal military police officer on authorized leave. I have authority to intervene in unlawful trespass and veteran property disputes under the 2008 Rural Protection Act." It was mostly true Ethan knew the law better than she did and delivered it like a sledgehammer. Laura's mouth flapped wordless. The clipboard kid slunk behind a truck. The crew started packing up, but Laura wasn't done. "This isn't over," she hissed. Ethan smiled. "Then bring a lawyer and a badge next time. This ranch isn't going anywhere. Neither are you." She stormed off, humiliated, but I knew she'd be back. HOA types like Laura don't quit. They reload with pettier vengeance. She'd made it personal, and she didn't yet grasp what she'd unleashed. This wasn't just land. It was legacy, sweat, soil, and sacrifice. She'd walked into a war she couldn't fathom, picking a fight with a soldier's brother. The quiet after Laura's retreat didn't last. By morning, my phone was blowing up missed calls, texts from strangers, emails ranging from "get in line" to "hope your cows get towed." I thought it was just HOA noise until I checked the Greenview Estates Community Facebook group, one I'd never joined. Laura had pinned a post with a doctored photo of my pasture. Comic Sans text blaring, "unauthorized land use exposed." Local rancher defies enhancement order. The comments were a cesspool of keyboard crusaders cheering her for standing up to rural squatters. She painted me as a freeloader who'd weaseled onto land the neighborhood needed for recreational development. Then came the harassment. That night, someone dumped a pile of broken shingles at my driveway's entrance, blocking access. By dawn, 4 signs sprouted along my property line, planted by HOA volunteers. Future site of Greenview Community Garden. HOA oversight. I ripped one out, snapped it in half, and tossed it into my compost. The audacity claiming my family's ranch for their overpriced kale plots lit a fire in me. Ethan was livid. He came over after filing a report with his base commander. "This is targeted harassment," he said, pacing my kitchen. "They're spinning a lie and weaponizing social media. It's disinformation straight out of a playbook." I raised an eyebrow. "So what now?" He grinned. We hit back. Word spread fast among the town's old-timers. The feed store guys dropped off donuts and no trespassing tape. My neighbor Jake lent me his drone to catch any more HOA stunts. By the weekend, a billboard appeared near the Greenview clubhouse. Nobody saying "I did it," showing a cartoon cow crushing a lawnmower, captioned "Ranch first, HOA later." The bakery run by Mrs. Callahan since forever put up a chalkboard. Now selling HOA tiers, salted and frosted. Her house-shaped cookies with frowny faces became a hit, drawing folks from 2 counties for selfies and snark. Laura was apoplectic. Her next move was colder. She filed a county complaint claiming my well, barn generator, and windmill were unauthorized infrastructure. The notice arrived 2 days later, scheduling an inspection and hinting my livestock could be shut down for safety violations. Ethan didn't wait. He called in a favor, and 48 hours later, Captain Miles, an Army engineer in full camo, rolled up. "Heard you've got an HOA problem," he said, grinning. Miles inspected everything. Barn wiring, well-rigged feed storage with Pentagon-level precision. "If your barn's unsafe," he winked. "So's half the Army's supply chain." He issued a stamped letterhead certifying my setup exceeded military standards. I wanted to frame it, but Laura doubled down, posting online that my cows were destroying native plant habitats and violating wildlife zones. It was laughable if it wasn't so dangerous. That night, a neighbor I barely knew, Tom, knocked on my door, glancing nervously. "They're planning to fence off your south field," he whispered. "They found some old survey saying it's an unclaimed buffer." My stomach sank. That field was where I kept my youngest calves and grew winter hay. Losing it would bankrupt me. Ethan called the Department of Agriculture to verify property lines. But I couldn't just sit. That night, I printed 20 drone-captured photos of Laura's crew trespassing and launched protecttheranchow.com, laying out my story with timelines, documents, and videos. I shared the link everywhere. Facebook Nextdoor news tip lines. Within 12 hours, it had 3,000 views. Ethan's PR buddy from Bass amplified it. "You want the public on your side," he said. "Spotlight's on. They can't play dirty without getting caught." Laura sent a cease and desist for the site, but it was too late. It went viral. A veterans group offered legal help. A podcaster wanted an interview. Someone dropped off yard signs. "This land fed America before you mowed a lawn." Laura's final gambit was a neutral inspection by a code enforcement officer who turned out to be her nephew Dylan, the same guy zapped by my fence. He showed up in a windbreaker with a clip-on badge, snapping photos of my hose, an empty bucket, even old tires. He scribbled like he was cracking a federal case, avoiding eye contact with me or Ethan, who stood on the porch unimpressed. That night, a letter slid under my barn door, accusing me of dangerous land use and old factory disturbance. My cows smelled like cows. They wanted them gone in 2 weeks. Ethan laughed so hard he nearly fell over. Their siding smell, he gasped. But I wasn't laughing. This could bury me in fines and red tape. Ethan's tone shifted. They're not just fighting, he said. They're trying to drown you in bureaucracy until you quit. We need to fight smarter. We dug deep. Ethan pulled zoning records back to the 80s. I called Uncle Pete, a retired county recorder, who found a bombshell. Greenview's expansion claim relied on a forged survey map skewed just enough to overlap my land. The original, filed 6 months earlier, showed my property clear. Ethan sent it to the DOJ's Rural Land Protection Unit, who advised us to hold off on accusations until they reviewed it. But we turned the heat up. We updated the website with side-by-side map comparisons, time-stamped and labeled. Why is the HOA lying local news bit then regional? A reporter filmed a segment in my pasture. Cows chewing behind a sign, forged maps, real cattle. Laura refused interviews, her silence deafening. Then she lost it. She rolled up with a bulldozer, a hired crew, and a gaggle of HOA loyalists claiming they'd remove unsafe structures. I stood before my barn holding a laminated injunction Ethan's contacts had filed. Touch one board and it's felony trespass. I said the driver shut off the engine. Laura screamed at him to keep going. He refused. County deputies arrived tipped off by the website. They asked for her permits. She fumbled. They told her to leave. Her posy scattered, faces flushed as she snapped at the driver like he was her valet. See you in court, she spat. Bring a real map? I shot back. That night, Ethan grilled burgers on the porch, the sun dipping over the pasture. They've got no idea what's next, he said. I didn't either, but Laura's unraveling was clear. Then came a certified letter, an HOA emergency hearing to claim my land via eminent domain, closed to the public 2 days away. Ethan read it, smirked, and tapped the paper. They forgot something, he said. What? I asked. They don't know. I bought a townhouse in Greenview last week. I nearly choked. Ethan, now an HOA voter, was walking into their trap as the trapper. The hearing was in Greenview's clubhouse, a gaudy hall with a sputtering fountain. I parked across the street as Ethan strolled in, button-down crisp leather folder in hand, looking like a guest lecturer. He signed in, took a voting slip, and sat quietly. Laura, oblivious, opened the meeting, pushing a motion to seize neglected buffer zones for ecocentric growth code for stealing my ranch. She handed out pamphlets with faked aerial shots and quotes from a shady consultant. The room nodded like drones, but when she called the vote, Ethan stood. Point of order, he said, voice cutting the air. Laura froze. This is members only, she stammered. Ethan handed his deed to a board member. I own 22B on Elm Drive. I'm a member, and you need to hear this before you steal my brother's ranch. Gas rippled. Laura's face burned. Ethan laid out the forged maps, fake violations, and a DOJ cease and desist, passing out copies. Your actions are illegal, he said. Proceed and you face audits and criminal probes. A woman took a copy, hands shaking. Laura's pen snapped. She tried to interrupt, but the room turned. Members left, one ditching his HOA polo like a surrendered flag. A motion to postpone passed unanimously. Laura mute. Ethan walked out, leaving her stunned. Back at the ranch, the mood was electric. The bakery rolled out. Laura's led down cookies, gavel-shaped with tiny barns. Veterans shook our hands. The sheriff stopped by for coffee, thanking us for standing firm. But Laura tried one last stunt, an appeal to the county, claiming my solar pump voided the ranch's grandfathered status. We countered with a full improvement timeline verified by a state official who laughed at her claim. A solar pump doesn't make a ranch a mall, she said. Her report not only cleared us, but nominated the ranch for historical site status, shielding it forever. Then in my granddad's desk, I found a 1947 letter, a federal homestead easement, making the ranch untouchable. We filed for heritage protection, sealing its future. Ethan got a letter from the governor appointing him state liaison for zoning oversight, tasked with auditing HOAs like Greenview. Laura vanished, her house sold quietly, rumors saying she fled 2 towns over. We fixed the gate, hung a signed veteran-owned HOA free zone, and settled into peace. One morning, Ethan joined me in the pasture, coffee in hand. If you ever want a partner, I'm 10 minutes away, he said. We could raise bees. I grinned. No queens like Laura, though. Under the stars, we toasted the land, and the fools who thought they could take it. They picked the wrong ranch.